All right, perfect. Thanks, Tricia, for the kind introduction. And thanks everyone today for joining the InsureTech Connect Asia Digital Distribution and Ecosystem Summit. I think for the next 20 minutes, you'll hear from some of the latest and greatest from three very accomplished individuals in InsureTech on technology. And without further ado, let me start with introducing my esteemed panel. We'll start with Rajat Sharma. Rajat is the global head for platform strategy at eBauTech. Incubated InsureMO as a platform from a startup to a scale-up, becoming one of the largest open API platforms for insurers. We very much look forward to hearing from you about InsureMO and any other eBauTech strategic partnerships and InsureTech innovations. Secondly, on my Sean Lau is VP Partnership Solutions at Swiss Re. He's spearheading digital engagement opportunities across the APAC region. Prior to Swiss Re, he was the regional commercial head at Grab. You heard from Grab at the keynote, and he took on a role in setting up Grab's insurance vertical, as well as being a management consultant and a startup founder. My third guest, but definitely not least, is Victor Putra Lesmana. Victor is president of Buka Financial and Digital, which is the financial service arm of Bukalapak, one of India's largest e-commerce platforms and unicorn. He launched Bukalapak's insurance platform in 2019, the first e-commerce platform which launched a direct-to-consumer distribution channel, and he was a management consultant at BCG and IBM. You have heard, all three of them have been builders, and we're very much looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you. So maybe without further ado, given that our topic today is technology bridging the gap between insurers and new age internet players, maybe we'll start with Rajat. Needless to say that COVID has accelerated the digital transformation journey for many InsureTech firms, but also traditional insurers. What do you see as the three or main key technology developments that have impacted the insurance industry? Happy to hear your insights and view, Rajat.
Thank you so much, Lapman. Thank you so much for inviting us, and it's a great panel, as you said. I am really looking forward for a great discussion, and so the topic is apt. So COVID-19 is just probably one reason because of which we're talking of digital transformation. But I think we started off thinking that the industry is going to change much earlier than COVID even hit us. So technology transformation changes. I think before that, let me talk about the business imperatives and what business actually wants and what business is leading to technology changes. COVID is a small portion of that. And that's where, we also drive our organization, our platform to those three business imperatives. So the three business imperatives that we look at it is massive volume. Insurers need massive amount of volumes to drive the business, right? Most of the countries are underpenetrated. If you look at Southeast Asia, India, a lot of emerging markets, they're underpenetrated. So volume is a very important factor here. Velocity, right? So while you're hitting volumes, insurers also want speed. They want velocity in terms of launching products faster, reaching out to the customers as soon as possible, right? So that is another second most important imperative that insurers, InsureTechs today are looking at driving from a business standpoint. And third, not the least, but as variation. We've seen insurance industry has been very traditional, so top 3-4 traditional products are probably, the 90% of insurance revenues. That's been the case. But today with, bite-sized sachet products coming in, long tails kicking into picture, we see a demand for a lot of personalized products. We see a lot of demand for variations in terms of launching new products to look at what the consumer actually wants. What is a consumer buying? How can you embed insurance as part of those products? So that is where variation comes into picture. And if you want to change as soon as possible, very fast with the changing consumer demand. So these three are very important aspects from a business standpoint. And I think that is where technology comes into picture. And at least from our perspective, InsureMO is an open API platform, right? We're not just giving systems or applications. We're trying to drive these three visions. So that is where I think based on whatever we've been working on, we launched our platform almost 4.5 years back. And from then till now, I think we've done pretty well. But still, I don't think so we've even captured 1% of the market. Some of the tech-related innovations and transformation of the need that we see in the market if you were to ask me top three, I would again come back to the same thing. So number one is APIs. I think that's become mainstream. APIs and microservices become mainstream. Everybody now realizes the need, how urgently they need APIs. And this is not just purely from a systems building or building applications perspective, but even from a monetization perspective. So that is itself is a business revenue stream for insurers. So that is where APIs are absolutely important. Probably we see that as a number one priority every time somebody approaches us from a tech perspective. The second important aspect, data. And I think data has always been important, but with COVID, I think we've seen a lot of organizations now trying to bring data together and trying to make sense out of that data. Now that can be for underwriting decisions, that can be for servicing, that can be for claims, anything. So effectively, again, artificial intelligence, machine learning, which were kind of jargons few years back, we are now seeing real use cases that again come into picture. And again, aggregating data pipes. So there are multiple organizations which are just offering data pipes for customers to kind of take these smart decisions, or insurers to take smart decisions on doing that stuff. Last, I would say, again, that we see, at least from my perspective, I'm seeing a lot of low code, no code technologies coming into picture, right? So a lot of these, applications are required, whether these are applications for agents, whether these are for brokers, whether these are applications for channels itself, which are trying to service customers. So you want to design those applications fast. You want limble, neat, clean applications that could be designed, that could be hooked up to APIs. So again, I see a lot of low code, no code is coming mainstream now. And again, we work with a lot of such low code, no code companies where they are using our APIs to build those applications and deliver kind of those values to their end customers. So that's been the kind of theme that at least I've witnessed over the last 3-4 years working with various insurtechs and insurance companies.
No, perfect. Thanks for sharing the three V's and also the three key parts: the APIs, microservices, data analytics, AI, ML, and the local no-code apps. Probably over to you, Sean. You've been at both sides of the fence as a startup founder and now as one of the leading reinsurer. What technological advancements do you see, and are there specific ones that reinsurers are focusing on?
I would say, like what Rajat said, the good thing is that everyone has started realizing that they need to transform. And even pre-COVID, there was already plans, right? COVID has simply just accelerated that shift and basically compressed 5 years of development work into just a single year. And essentially, this investment into technology capabilities, we are seeing an increasing trend that of insurers acquiring new solutions just to make sure they are well equipped to support things like new underwriting models, new claims models, and more. Right. And I think one key area, I wouldn't call it technological advances, but I would think it's more of a mindset shift and a more engagement models that insurers are trying, is really the growth of distribution-driven type partnerships. Right. Insurers, reinsurers, we are starting to see that the way to the emerging customers are going to be through partnerships, and especially so in this part of the world. So we take the Grab and Chubb collaboration, for example. So within a span of a couple of years, what we know is that, and I believe that they have issued over 100 million policies. So tell me, right, how long will a conventional insurer actually take to hit that magical number? And they did it within 2 years. So really, this outlines how powerful these engagement models can be. Another area to look at is, of course, like what Rajat said, right? Growing amount of investments into tech development, tech partnerships, digital transformation experience. And I think he covered that enough. So I'm going to leave it with his opinion as well, right? I think in a nutshell, I guess this is all driven by clearer identification of roles and responsibilities. As insurers, reinsurers, we are becoming clearer on how can we support this new InsureTech development. And even for us at Swiss Re, we're also looking to ramp up our engagement and start playing in this new digital space as well.
No, perfect. Thanks for sharing that, and also bringing up the importance of digital ecosystems and strategic partnerships. Thanks, Sean. Over to you, Victor. I mean, Asia is not one market. There are many different markets. Do you see a difference of the types of technology that are taking off, say, North Asia versus Southeast Asian markets? What do you see, interestingly, in Southeast Asia? And do you see a difference between the more, let's say, developed and more emerging pioneer markets?
Sure. Thank you, Lemon, for the question. So I guess it's good to step back a little bit and also understand that Southeast Asia itself is also quite a diverse market. We have countries like Singapore or Malaysia. They are way more advanced in terms of the digital development adoptions. and versus like Indonesia or Vietnam, who are probably slightly behind. So they are slightly following a different path because of a different composition of the markets as well as the populations and the digital savviness. So if I look into the market specifically for Indonesia, where Bukalapak is based on, which is probably more looking towards the emerging kind of a market, is probably following more the direction that's towards the Indias rather than in the North Asia like China, Japan, and Korea, where I think in those countries the insurance technology development have been has been spearheaded by the large insurance companies, such as for example in China it's like Ping An, while in India it's mostly any technological development is mostly done by InsureTech companies, and we have seen that similar things are also happening in Indonesia, where a lot of the innovations have been actually pushed by the InsureTech, while the large insurance providers they are actually working with the InsureTech to help the distribute their products towards the broader populations. And if you look into the technology itself, I probably would split it into two different categories. One is more on the back ends, such as the claim processing. This is similar to what Rajat mentioned earlier about adoption of artificial intelligence or machine learning. I guess it's going to be pretty similar. All InsureTech and all the insurance companies are also trying to play into the space as the volume increases. How can they actually process faster, doing the claim management in a more smoother way? So I think all those will still be valid like Indonesia. While in the more on the consumer facing, there will be slight differences because also of the regulations that is different among the various countries. For example, in Indonesia, like doing a fully digital KYC, it is still limited for certain products only. For example, if you want to get a whole life insurance, you will still require a face-to-face kind of meeting or some kind of a web signature because this regulation of the electronic KYC or electronic signature, it is still being developed. So on the consumer facing, probably there will be it will take about a while, maybe another 1-2 years before we can actually reach the stage of the more developed market like Singapore, for example.
Thanks for sharing the differences and the nuances in the Southeast Asia. I mean, I want to spend a little bit more time on the area that Sean mentioned around digital ecosystems. I mean, I think the future, we probably all agree, is digital ecosystems, customer-centric networks through which products and services are offered, platform, that they will become major forces. And I think one McKinsey study mentioned there are 12 global ecosystems emerging through which a lot of products and services will be sold, including insurance. Maybe Sean, I know that again for Swiss Re, we've seen in the recent years that global reinsurers have entered into the InsureTech space, like Hannover Re has the Aquarium platform, investing in InsureTech firms like Finley. Munich Re has a specialist provider called Digital Partners to focus on InsureTech, bringing them the underwriting capability, making them actually no different from a traditional insurer. I mean, with this, the line between InsureTech and traditional insure has become really blurry. Can you share a bit what you see in terms of insurers entering the InsureTech market? And is there anything you could share around what Swiss Re is doing here in Asia? Good for the audience to really understand a bit more of that, Sean.
Yeah, so thanks, Lemon, for the question. I think, of course, I think most of you are familiar that Swiss Re has iptiQ, which is also our digital engagement tool to really allow the reinsurer to play more with and engage with the end customer. But I won't be able to comment as much on iptiQ's expansion plans into Asia as much as I like. But let's just say it's going to definitely be a key enabler in our future plans in the region for the next couple of years as well. So I think traditionally, to your question, reinsurers are just the bearers and assessors of risk. But this is set to change as we see the likes of not just Swiss Re, but you mentioned Hannover, Munich, and also Gen Re venturing into the digital space. And what reinsurers bring to the table that's different from the conventional carrier is probably a more robust risk appetite, as well as a stronger willingness and balance sheet to test new product concepts that conventionally may not be available on the market yet. So imagine an ecosystem like Bukalapak, right? Like, sorry, Victor, for using your ecosystem once again. But launching a single product in Indonesia, someone from Victor's team will probably have to call and write an RFP, assess the responses, and then not just from a price and product perspective, but also evaluate the partners, the carriers technically. And this is the amount of work that comes with just one of such engagement. So as the insurance vertical scales, as they expand into more markets, more products, and to meet more demand, his team will then have to constantly repeat that process of doing an RFP, and this can prove very rigorous and onerous. Right? Working for a reinsurer will then allow him to provide best-in-class engagement tie-ups with the existing client networks that the reinsurers might have in each respective markets, and subsequently spend more time crafting product solutions that are more relevant to the needs of the ecosystem. And that may just be the immediate edge that reinsurers bring to the table over conventional carriers. But I'm also mindful that with our risk knowledge, we need to proactively bring these partners, bring to our clients, our conventional insurers, these ideas and concepts to pitch to partners, alternative partners like Victor, like Bukalapak, like Tokopedia, for example. So it's definitely exciting, and it remains to be seen how the roles and responsibilities of each existing party within the value chain will start shifting as we navigate the new norm.
No, thanks, Sean. And good to know that the reinsurance firms are actually, in a sense, helping to accelerate the innovation and adoption of new products by InsureTech. So that's good to have these type of players into the ecosystem. Maybe very quickly to Rajat, what do you see in terms of any important strategic partnership, and how does eBauTech operate within the broader ecosystem?
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, strategic partnerships is probably the way to go. And I think gone are those days when a large insurer can stand up and, drive that 30-40% year-on-year growth without having those strategic partnerships. So that is where, the ecosystem is one play. Now there are multiple types of ecosystem which at least we see, and we ourselves are also running a few ecosystem from a tech perspective. For example, we run an auto mobility ecosystem in China. We are running a broker ecosystem in Thailand. We are running e-commerce and other ecosystems as well in different markets like India and other Southeast Asia markets. So ecosystems obviously are very important. Strategic partnerships are even more important for these insurers, because the fact is, again, I come back to the same idea, that insurers would want to sell their products where the customers are, because they can't create every single consumer line. So they can't create healthcare services, they can't create travel, they can't create logistics, they can't create all kinds of business lines. So they'll have to partner with these players. That's number one. Second, why where we come into picture is, now while this sounds very exciting to connect with hundreds or thousands of channels or partners and offer them APIs to sell their products and embed their products, but the fact is there is a cost element to every integration that you do. There's a technology implementation that comes into picture. So that is where it becomes a big deterrent for a lot of these insurers to kind of onboard multiple of these partners. So hence it's very important that the cost of connectivity to these channels or affinity channels, any traditional or affinity or digital channels, is near to zero. And that is where we step in, whether we work directly with the channels, the distributors, or we work directly with the insurers with our platform to offer them this near to zero cost of connectivity and bringing those partners on board. So that is obviously very important, and that's where our line of customers have changed drastically. So eBauTech as an organization, we were only focused on carriers and to some extent reinsurers, when we spawned it 20 years back. But today, if you look at what InsureMO as a platform is doing, I would say out of, if we have around 300 customers, more than 60% of the customers are non-carriers. So they are e-commerce companies. These are travel and logistics companies. These are auto dealer manufacturers. So all kinds of players, which we see as a huge need of that APIs and platforms, and even they want to get into the product innovation side now. Until now we were looking at them as purely as distributors. You offer them APIs and they'll go, they'll upsell those products and earn some commissions. But today, we're working with one of the largest e-commerce company in India, and those guys are thinking very disruptively. They are thinking of getting into product innovation. The amount of data that these channels hold, the amount of information that they have about the customers, insurers probably don't even have 1% of that. So they want to leverage that to even get into underwriting decisions. They want to get into claims. They want to get into servicing their customers. So that is the power that these strategic partners are bringing to insurers. And that is where, how an insurer and a reinsurer works. Again, it's a very interesting play that we are looking at. So how Swiss Re and some of the other reinsurers are trying to step into this whole play, to kind of create a larger ecosystem in parallel to insurers. That will be a very exciting space as well. So yes, from my perspective, very, very, very important from a strategic partnerships perspective.
No, perfect. No, thanks for that. And really, I think it's a really compelling value proposition that you mentioned that InsureTech will provide the near to zero cost of connectivity, putting all these players together. I think the last area that I want to discuss, we have now discussed some technology developments. We have now discussed the importance of digital ecosystem. Now what I want to talk a bit about is how does it benefit some of the underinsured or uninsured populations here in Asia? Maybe Victor, I mean, probably a good example, specifically given that you are in Indonesia, which is a market with a relatively low insurance penetration rate, probably low awareness of the benefits of insurers, but with a very digital savvy population. Can you share a bit more how InsureTechs are helping to promote insurance and how they will help to basically close that gap of the protection gap, basically? Anything you can share on that part?
Okay, so if you look into this insurance, right, typically people think about insurance is something that is a large amount, like a life insurance where people have to pay hundreds of dollars and so on. I guess if you want to sell those kind of products, it will be very challenging, especially in the market like Indonesia, where the national income is only a few $100s in terms of the GDP and so on per capita. So the way we can educate is actually to be able to come out with a mass kind of product where the premium is going to be very, very low, can be like less than $1, can be only a few cents, or it can be something that's only covering for a very specific kind of purpose, and then being able to somehow make it as an add-on into like a product that is already existing. For example, if they are purchasing a mobile phone, they just adding in additional very small premiums, and by then it's like people are actually giving it a try, and after they feel the benefit, they understand that the insurance is going to be beneficial for them in the future if they want to cover for other needs. I think that's going to be much more effective compared to having a campaign like why insurance is important and so on. And actually, we have seen that in a lot of the platforms, including Bukalapak, where when actually we embed some of these micro insurance products or even nano insurance products into our journey, the transaction journey, the take up is much higher compared to, let's say, if we are selling standalone products. And this is where I guess the InsureTech they are able to handle this kind of a large volume with but at the same time a small amount of kind of applications and claims much more efficiently versus the larger insurance companies.
And Lemon, if I can add to Victor's point, right? In Indonesia, especially so in the rural areas, people don't even have bank accounts, right? Much less insurance cover. So what they do have are actually smartphones with these different platforms that they actually interact with very frequently. In fact, last year when Swiss Re did a digital consumer research study in Indonesia, we realized that across most demographics, engagement rates were fast growing, and these users actually said that, hey, in future, I don't mind transacting my insurance activities on these said platforms. So we actually see a very strong slant towards moving towards these digital channels for future insurance related engagements. So it's definitely a way to go to penetrate the Indonesian market.
Definitely good for consumers to have insurance at their fingertips with their smartphones. I guess maybe a question for all three of you gentlemen is around, are there any InsureTechs in North Asia, Southeast Asia that you see that we should watch? I mean, not making any commercials for them. Any interesting ones that you see, and what is their value proposition? Anything you could share, Victor or Sean or Rajat? Any interesting?
I'll take a step at it first. Oh, Rajat, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to take my bet on middleware solutions like InsureMO, Zongan Tech, Kuala in Indonesia, and particularly players in the middleware space. I feel that the gap for carriers today to directly work with different end ecosystem providers like Grab may still be a bit too big to breach. So there needs to be a transition phase, and probably that's where tech folks, tech experts like Tech, Zhong'an Tech can come in and support these implementations and engagement models, right? As we test out new operating models, new product innovation ideas before we eventually scale up into a more robust in-house infrastructures that the carriers themselves can own. So that if you're asking about InsureTech to look out for, it's probably these few boys in the market.
No, thanks. That's insightful. Victor, anyone's from you that are on your list or that are on your phone?
Yes, I guess this is probably companies who are actually enabling the use of big data to help to have a much more efficient underwriting and be able to come up with a very tailored as well as affordable products, right? Because as we can see, there's with the proliferation of using the smartphones and so on, there are actually a lot of data that can be gathered from the activity levels. You can actually know whether the person is it active or not, is it how many times the person actually moving or walking. And I think with all those data, it can actually be used to have, especially on the health and the lifetime of the products, to have much better underwriting. And I can see that a number of companies actually have, the big players have actually done going through that path as well, either by launching their own applications or partnering with other ecosystem players to be able to gather all this data, which will then be fed into their own decision engine. So I guess this probably will be another big thing that might grow.
Thanks. I'm just hearing we have just 1 more minute. Is there any key message or any key things to watch in the InsureTech space or anything that your firm is doing? Maybe we'll start with Rajat and then Sean and then Victor. And give it that we have 1 minute.
Sure. So I'll quickly give my take. So yes, as Sean mentioned that, we are also trying to ride the same wave, and we believe it's a huge market. And what in tech companies like us and InsureTech together can pull through is probably a 90% untapped market, and bringing insurance to a lot of consumers which are trying to go for it. So that's where connecting all these channels, and not just channels, but even some of the large traditional insurers as well, which are now trying to transform. We see that also as a huge space. So one of the 6th largest general insurer in China, I'll give you an example. So they are one of our customers who built their core system on our platform. So, they have gone and done all these 3 things: volume, velocity, variations in a single case study. So we've seen them issuing more than 100 million policies in a single day, in 24 hours. We've seen them launching more than 150 products in a few weeks. We've seen them going from all kinds of traditional products to micro, nano, bite-sized products, in a span of 3 to 6 months. So it's a mindset change. So whether it is an InsureTech, it's a traditional insurer, if they understand the business need, I think we should look out for all those companies which are actually out there for a real change.
Oh, perfect. Any last 1 sentence messages from yourselves, Sean or Victor? Anything to watch?
I think that 2021 will be a test and learn year for the industry, where we see respective players across the value chain ramping up their plans before going into larger scale and more full-fledged implementations in the coming year. To use an analogy, for all we know, the 3 of us on this panel, with our variety of background and experiences, can put together a proposition that sees us distributing a suite of comprehensive insurance solutions that comes from Swiss Re to users on Bukalapak, provided by Victor, and powered by a best-in-class customer experience journey supported by Rajat. So
very well said. Victor, any last?
I guess for me, the key is really speed and flexibility. Being able to tailor a product and coming out to the market very quickly is important, because it's still emerging market. There's going to be a lot of testing to understand the behaviors and the demand. So companies that can actually adapt and come out with things quickly and tailor it I think they will be able to grab the market.
Perfect. No. Thanks everyone for having a great panel discussion. I think the insurance industry should be very happy with very enthusiastic, powerful, insightful professionals as yourself. So, and also thanks InsureTech Connect Asia for inviting me as the moderator. I really enjoyed it and hope we can get together soon, and look forward for a great year for InsureTech. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same here, pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.